Let's take it to the US now, where a federal judge in Oregon has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from sending hundreds of National Guard troops to Portland. Now, this ruling follows news earlier that President Trump had sent 200 members of California's National Guard to Oregon. The Trump administration saying the move was in response to protests, but it comes despite objections from the governors of both states. The same federal judge had previously blocked the deployment of Oregon National Guard troops to Portland. Let's speak now to Liz Goodwin, Congress reporter at The Washington Post. Liz, it's good to see you. There was a power struggle over the weekend. We've got these two big showdowns happening at the White House. One is over these troops. The other is over the shutdown, which continues. But can we start with the troops? Is this President Trump's attempts to try and normalise the sight of troops on the streets of American cities?
Yeah, the president, I think, has struggled with hearing, judge after judge sort of reject this as a move. The Supreme Court hasn't weighed in, and, perhaps once it gets to that point where the Supreme Court issues a final ruling on the issue, it will settle this down. But the judge in Oregon, who is an appointee of President Trump, she sounded pretty angry about this because she, in her comments and her ruling, you can tell that she feels that the administration is sort of shopping around when they don't like the decision. So, you're not allowed to send Oregon National Guard, but let me try California National Guard. There's this sense that they're sort of violating the spirit of what she's saying, which is no, there is no insurrection right now in the city of Portland. There's a fairly small protest outside of one immigration detention center. That is not a situation that the police can't handle. You cannot federalize National Guard here or send in someone else's National Guard. So I think this is one of those situations where in a normal world, that would be the end of it. But just given the aggressiveness which this administration treats judicial rulings that they don't like, it's hard to predict what's going to happen next.
Because his plans are bigger than what we're seeing here with Portland. He's also talking, President Trump, about Chicago. I mean, where does this all end?
Yeah, Chicago has been something he's been saying for months, ever since the National Guard here in D.C. It's a different situation. He is fully in control of that guard legally. But since he sent them out into the streets, he's been talking about Chicago as well. And now there are larger protests in Chicago. That situation is more volatile. So we'll see if that gives him more standing with, whatever district court he ends up fighting this in to have National Guard there. But the governor and the mayor have made it very clear they don't want that. And it seems like the situation in California, which was also pretty volatile in LA, a judge at the end said you can't do that either. It's being appealed, though. But it seems like even in situations where the protests are sometimes violent, judges are not siding with the Trump administration on this idea that you can have the military there.
And Liz, where are we at with this other showdown over the shutdown? It does seem like the leaders in both parties are actually only digging in deeper now. Doesn't seem to be any compromise at the moment on the horizon.
Agree. They seem very dug in right now. At least on the leadership level, the top Democrats, top Republicans aren't even really talking in a serious way right now. I think if we do get out of the shutdown earlier, like sometime this week, I think it would be, moderate Democrats just on their own sort of cracking, not liking the pressure, not liking the fact that on Friday, a lot of federal employees aren't going to get their paychecks, or some of these programs that help moms and babies might run out of money. Sometimes when that pressure builds up, a few just individual senators might change their mind. You would need 5 of them to fold, basically, to end this shutdown. But at the leadership level, it doesn't feel like we're anywhere even close to an end in sight.
Liz, good to get your thoughts. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.